Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Organizing Committee, it's my pleasure to welcome you all to fifth lecture series on Review of Literature, What, Why and How in Legal Research Methodology. We are privileged to have our eminent speaker, Professor Dr. P. Vanangamudi sir, former Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Dr. Ambedkar Law University, to lead today's lecture. I thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, Colonel Professor Dr. N.S. Santosh Kumar Sir for his valuable support, and I thank everybody in connection with this session. Before beginning, let's just recap about previous session. In previous session, Sir discussed about in lecture 1 aims and objectives of legal education. In lecture 2, what, why and how of legal research. In lecture 3, systematic research and its characteristics. In lecture 4, research designs and research questions. And now today we are going to listen to lecture 5 on review of literature, what, why and how. Our sir will guide us through the complexities of research methodology, shielding light on best practices and emerging trends. Over to you, sir.
Good morning to all, and it's my pleasure to thank all the organizers for facilitating to have this fifth lecture series. In this lecture series, we are going to have a detailed discussion about review of literature. There are three questions mainly to address. What is meant by review of literature? Why a researcher has to pursue review of literature? And how he can do this review of literature? Where the literatures can be found? These are the questions. Originally, we coined only what, why, and how. You can add one more question, where to find literature. So these four questions are to be addressed in this lecture. Already we discussed the main aim of research is to answer research questions. Research is a problem-solving endeavor. In the problem-solving endeavor, the most important thing is research questions. Research questions are to be answered. In this lecture, we are going to have a detailed discussion about the relevance of literature review. Already we point out what is research. In that concept we discussed, research has research, search, and again search. I point out search is the characteristics of all living entities, whether it's plants or animals or human beings. Search is inherent, innate characteristics. But research is only the characteristics of human beings. If you analyze the single characteristics that differentiates all living beings and human being, it is research that differentiates. But from 19th century onwards, 19th, 20th, and 21st century, researchers, they are not literally simply doing research, they are doing scientific research because a lot of research has come into being. So scientific research is pursued. Therefore, in this context, already we point out research, scientific research, systematic investigation. In the systematic investigation of the research problem, we have to take care of the literatures. Suppose if a person does a particular research, which is already done, then it's a waste of time, waste of energy, waste of everything. Replication, duplication in research should be avoided. Otherwise, human resource will be wasted. Therefore, review of literature attempts to answer that question. In this review of literature, as already we discussed in research, research, review, view, and it is to be reviewed. A view is one that is taken by a scholar or an author. This view is once again considered, scrutinized, tested, or analyzed by another person. That's what's called review. So literally, the etymological meaning of the word review refers to a more detailed and structured evaluation of an article, essay, book, or a dissertation or thesis. So that is the definition of review. So review refers to A view is taken by an author in an article or in a book, and this view is considered by another person in the pursuit of his research question answering, and he proceeds that one. That is what's called review. Review. Then the second question to be answered is, what is a literature? So please move on to the second slide. What is a literature? Literature, it refers to a lot of things, but in research, it refers to the collection of published information, materials on a particular area of research or topic, such as books or journals in articles, journals of articles in academic value. Here we have to consider two important points. What are the points which are to be considered? It is on a particular area. Literature may convey so many meanings, but in research, the review of literature concern point of view, literature refers to those particular literature connected to the topic which is taken by the researcher. So not only to the topic taken by the researcher, but it also refers to the method to be adapted by the researcher. So we can say literature in this context refers to all those articles, all those books which are related to the topic taken by a researcher and the method that is going to be applied by the researcher in answering his research questions. I am emphasizing two important points here. It is the topic taken by the researcher. And the second point is it is a method to be applied by the researcher. If any article or research book, if it has that one, then that literature will be taken care of. Therefore, literature here does not mean any other thing. It refers to the concerned topic and concerned literature related to the research question, concerned literature related to the method of the research. This is about the literature in this topic referred to. Please move on to the next one. So before proceeding to this one, I think it is relevant to analyze a couple of definitions about review of literature. Literature review refers to researching. Please analyze every word carefully. Researching, it is there. Literature review refers to researching, reading, analyzing, evaluating. My understanding is evaluating is a very important word related to review of literature. I'll take this one a little bit elaborately in the subsequent slide. And summarizing scholarly literature like journal articles. I'm using the word journal articles, books about a specific topic. So important point is it is evaluating related to the specific topic. The another definition, of course, it may be somewhat a repetition, but for a deeper understanding of the concept of a review of literature, it may be necessary to understand this one. Literature review is a written overview of major writings and other sources on a selected topic. Sources covered in the review may include scholarly journal articles, books, government reports, books, etc. Thesis, all these things are coming under the literature. Here, I want to say something to my research scholars, master students. I think from the earlier discussion and the questions raised by the students, I understand students are trying to understand few important concepts like objectivity and subjectivity and all these things. In this one, even if it is confusing, let there be a confusion. Only in confusion you can have clarity. I want to raise this confusion and clarification. The point is objectivity versus subjectivity. When a researcher does his research, it refers to objective. So the aim of the researcher is to pursue objectively. But review concern, the review refers to one scholar objectively analyzes, another person comes in by the name of a researcher and he says, I'm going to review it. When he is going to review it, his subjective idea is there. Therefore, the topic taken by him is subjective, and he selected a particular literature, it is subjective, and he is going to give his input, it is also subjectivity. Therefore, The subjective subjectivity concept continues to be there in research, and it is a healthy discussion whenever you go in deeper aspects of research. The subjectivity and subjectivity we have to take into consideration. So view and review, even though it is in the controversy between objectivity and subjectivity, it's not a thing. To be more precise, more clear on my point, view is taken by the scholar. It is first person view. Review is taken by the present researcher. It is a second perspective point of view. So objective and subjective is there. Now, already I have pointed out one important thing. This is whether objective subjective is a binary one. Binary, most of the students, I understand you are familiar with this binary concept. In computer, this binary is very important. Whether it is 0 or 1. 0 or 1, that is binary. In research, we are aiming objective and we are trying to be maximum objective, but subjectivity is inevitable. Therefore, no research is absolutely objective and no research is absolutely subjective. It is in between 0 and 1. It is in between. On the other day, I have given a picture, photograph, saying that whether it is a black or white. In this context, I point out it is 0. It is in between 0 and 1, and it's not 0 or 1, or it is in between black and white, and it is not black or white. That way we have to understand this concept, then only you can proceed further. Therefore, in some review of literature is a subjective endeavor of the present researcher to analyze the topic, analyze the view taken by a particular researcher in the earlier context. If you understand this one, then a review of literature may be a little bit useful. So I think it is not out of place to proceed. We are a researcher in legal research. In legal research point of view, in Evidence Act Section 2, you may come across a particular thing, fact and issue, fact and issue. In that one, you may come across what is a fact. Fact is very important for every research. Fact is very important for prosecution. Fact is very important in every aspect of judicial process. Fact is defined in the Evidence Act to mean a fact means and includes anything, state of things, or relation of things capable of being pursued by the senses. So capable of being pursued by the senses is the definition also goes this way: any mental condition of which any person is conscious. Here I am interested in pointing out two important concepts. The one is a perception. We have five senses. Through five senses, we are perceiving. Perceiving is seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, and feeling. These are the perception. And the mental aspect, psychological aspect refers to consciousness. Therefore, this is what's called cognizance. This is what's called cognitive. In psychology, there are three important concepts. One is cognitive, another is affective, third one is evaluative. In a review, it is not merely cognition, it is affective. You are applying your personal interest in literature, and thereby you are evaluating. You are saying this is a relevant article, a relevant book. You are saying it's a good book. You are saying it's not a relevant book. So when you apply your subjective interest, it is what's called affective. Therefore, whether you understand this concept here or not, but it's a pertinent concept in our research, you please try to understand this cognitive, affective, evaluative. These three concepts are very, very important concepts in every aspects of research. Please proceed to the next slide. Now, I think to some extent I point out what is a review of literature. Let me sum up this one. Review of literature refers to, the first one is related topic. To the related topic, a researcher is collecting all the relevant articles and books, and he is applying his mind and finding out whether it is good or bad. Not only that one, he is finding out the gap in it. Once the gap is found out, his endeavor is to fill up that gap. That is the pursuit of legal research or any research. Now, what type of literature is to be reviewed? So relevant to the topic and relevant to the research proposed by the researcher. The researcher he has taken a topic, and under the topic he has research questions. Under the research questions, he is proposing to apply apply a particular method or a model or a technique to solve that one. Related to that one, he is collecting literature. That literature is reviewed. In research methodology, there are three important concepts we have to keep in mind. One is bibliography, another one is reference, third one is footnote. So the guides, they are very particular. Show me your bibliography. Do you have footnotes? Do you have references or not? We must understand and differentiate the meaning of all these things. So in this slide, I point out the etymology of the word bibliography. So the word bibliography comes from the Greek word biblio. Biblio itself refers to book, and the graphos, which is the meaning is description, something written. So bibliography means the description of the book. It is made on it is when someone writes a list of books or other written works. This is what's called bibliography. Let me tell you one thing. Please take any book, research book. When I say book, it's a research book. At the end of the research book, you may come across bibliography. It means the researcher of that particular book or article, he depends upon these books and materials in order to arrive at a conclusion to his research question. That list of books is called, a set of books are called bibliography. There are two types of bibliography. One is a selected bibliography, another is a general bibliography. In PhD, the moment when you submit a thesis, the examiner used to go through the bibliography. So what is the stuff of the researcher is to be assessed in terms of bibliography. So bibliography is long and detailed if it carries the recent publications. Because once if you publish bibliography, it is possible to understand whether it includes the latest publication, latest articles or not. So our researcher, in order to overcome this one, they used to give all the books, whether they studied, whether they reviewed or not, they used to give all the books that are related, whether it is recent or late. That's why in recent research methodology, there is a concept called a selected bibliography. The general bibliography is any book related to the topic, whereas selected bibliography means the books the researcher referred and used in order to arrive at a conclusion. Only referred book, only books which are given in the footnote, only articles which are referred and used in the dissertation or thesis alone are to be given. That's what's called selected bibliography. In course of time, we will have a detailed discussion what would be the content of the bibliography. There are 5 concepts in bibliography. One is name of the author, name of the book, place of publication, name of publishers, and year of publication. The year of publication is very, very important. Suppose if you take a particular topic, if your literature, if your bibliography is not having any book published after 2000, then it's an old one. It is outmoded. It is obsolete. So the latest one will be found the year of publication. Here I have to emphasize one more point. My dear students, you are very much interested in doing research and you are very much interested in understanding your topic. Please read the latest edition. What I mean by this one edition means books, it is published. The books which are published, if they are not available in the market, the sellers and publishers, they used to reprint. Please don't go for reprint. Go for edition. The edition difference between edition and reprint is in edition, latest updates are available. In reprints, the first one is just reprinted for want of books and other things. So these are the technical things which are easily understandable by guides and examiners that can differentiate a good research and research which is good and which is not good. Now it is my duty to explain the difference between bibliography and reference. If you go through journals, if you go through periodicals, periodicals is that which are periodically published, bi-monthly or monthly, or it is yearly or biannual. So that is called periodicals. A journal may be published in a periodical or like that. Therefore, if any article is published in the periodicals or in a journal, there normally scholars use the word references. What are the books, what are the articles which are available, which are useful in arriving or in solving the research question is answered in that one. So references are predominantly in articles. Bibliography is predominantly in books, thesis, dissertation, all these things. So these are the basic things. If time permits, in the days to come, we'll explain it elaborately. Therefore, every researcher must know all these things in detail. Now, the next point we have to understand this one is, so what's the difference between a book and an article? All our research, whenever we talk about a book or article, as far as research concerned, we are talking about mainly research books. We are not bothering about novels. We are not bothering about any mythical things, something like that. So book refers to, books are usually longer. I can say books are addressing or answering different or various research questions related to a particular specific topic. So books are usually longer or more in-depth than article. Books are written by a single author or a small group of authors and may cover a wide range of topics. At times, when you are coming across a reading, you may come across. So, for instance, suppose if a research book is written by 5 authors, you need not write all the authors. If you write the first X, then et al, et dot al, et al. Et al refers to and others. Most of the researchers, they may not know the implications of et al. So you need not write all these authors. You simply write so and so, and et al means it is written by more than 2 authors. The author list is going on et al and others. Et al refers to and others. So these are the technical jargons used in research. Similarly, when we come across article is a journal article in which the authors report their findings on the research they did. So article is that which addresses one or two major questions. If you take more research questions and answering, then book is the best choice. If you are taking only one research question and answering that research question, then the best one is article. So the advantage of a review of literature is the latest updates are available in articles. That's why, as a guide or an examiner, my first duty is when a thesis is given to us for evaluation, we used to say whether the researcher has referred recent articles. If it is 2024 or 2024 January articles, whether it is referred or not. Suppose if the researcher is not at all referring articles which are not available after 2020, then it's not an updated one. So these are the indicators to assess whether the thesis is well substantiated or not. These are the ways to. So my point is, books, it addresses several things. Books are related to somewhat chronologically earlier period, whereas article is addressed to latest one, recent one. Articles are in currency, books are larger in size. These are the basic difference which we must understand as far as the books and articles concerned. Please move on to the next slide. So again, it is related to the same article and research. Article is the creation of new knowledge, latest knowledge, and the use of existing knowledge in a new and creative way. So already we point out research, it has three important meaning: find out, reject, and give a complete comprehensive picture. So research article, it rejects a particular proposal, particular idea. That is also a research. Or it finds out a new one. I have come across yesterday, a couple of days back, I come across a wonderful research article which is related to neuroscience research. The author says so many things. It's a wonder. The author says, see, there is a close link between the mirror neurons. Of course, it's out of place to say mirror neurons and empathy. My first PhD concept is empathy. Empathy is the mechanism of modernization. So I was that much interested in empathy. Empathy is a psychic mobility. That way I analyzed. Yesterday, when I have gone through this article, this scholar Galassi, his name is a German scholar. He analyzed this empathy. It is a reflection of mirror neurons. He is a neuroscientist. He is taking psychology and he says empathy. It's a very interesting one in social psychology, in social consciousness. What I'm trying to point out, the latest concepts are there. It may be accepting or it may be rejecting. That scholar rejected nearly 300 years prevalent concept of empathy and he introduced a new concept. So in articles, one person may introduce another thing. If it is not out of place, I will tell you another thing. There is a scholar by name Michael Levin. Michael Levin is a scholar. He says brain is not the sole thing for consciousness. He introduced the concept called TAM, T-A-M-A, technological approach to mind everywhere. He says brain alone is not the instrument for mind, the entire body. He introduced a concept, collective intelligence of cells. Every cell is intelligent. He says every cell is intelligent. So whether you understand this concept or not, it's my duty to say it is research articles which introduce latest concepts, whether accepting or rejecting. Rejection of latest ideas are widely available in articles because after seeing peer review all these things, he can correct himself. If it is a book, it's a little bit difficult. Therefore, the article serves the purpose of popularizing his idea, substantiating his idea. That way, article serves the purpose. So, articles and essay, another very important difference we need to. What's the difference between an article and essay? Suppose if your professor asks to give an assignment, you are submitting a particular thing. You are saying it is an assignment. Assignment is like an essay. On a particular topic, you are giving a complete idea about that particular topic. It is essay. There need not be any new invention or discovery or rejection. You are giving a complete thing in a cogent manner. So articles, it is a recent finding, new finding, whereas research is a complete comprehensive whole. So articles and essays are often used interchangeably, but there is a difference between these one in the format and other things. An essay is a formal and a comprehensive piece of literature that describes a particular issue of topic, analyze and discuss. So my dear students, you are in the master's level, you must differentiate what is the basic difference between essay, article, book. So it is a very important thing you must understand this one at this juncture. Please move on to the next one. Okay. Why do researchers review literature? I point out review, I point out literature. Why do researchers review? What is the need to review it? The objective of the researcher is doing research. What for he is going for review of literature? So review of literature, I point out, it's another very important. I cannot say it is a sole important, but to my great surprise, I have come across so many, including so many PhD dissertations and master's dissertations without review of literature. My guide taught me if any research work without review of literature, it is not at all a dissertation. So, dissertation must have a review. Otherwise, it is not a good dissertation. Therefore, my dear students, you please take it from me. your master's dissertation, whether it's a doctrinal research or a non-doctrinal research, or pure research or applied research, whatever it may be, there must be a review of concept or a heading under the name review of literature. So a review of literature provides an overview of current knowledge, allowing one to identify relevant theories, methods, and gaps. Most important thing is gap. So research attempts to fill up a gap. How do you find there is a gap? Without going through the literature, without reviewing the literature, it's not at all possible to find out a gap. Whenever I point out gap, it refers to research gap. So the research gap is to be found out. It is possible to be found out only by reviewed literatures. So then only you can continue your. So your main aim is to fill up a research gap. What is the research? Research is to widen the knowledge. Widening the knowledge is like a filling up the gap. Filling up the gap is like a what's called, you may come across these blocks. See, road blocks, what's called children, they used to play games like that one. There is a building block. There is a block, there is a gap. That block is to be filled. That's what's called. So researcher attempts to find a gap, and the research endeavor, process, or activity, it is trying to fill that gap. That is a purpose. So a review of literature is a written overview of major writings, underline the word major writings, and other sources on a selected topic. So major writings and a selected topic, these are the two important concepts you have to keep in mind. Sources covered in the review may include scholarly journals, underline the word scholarly journal articles, books, at times it's a government reports, at times it may be taken from websites also. The literature review provides a description, summary, and evaluation of each sources. This is about review of literature. So, in sum, review of why we are doing review of literature. Review of literature we are doing for three important things. In the next slides to come, it is explained elaborately. But before proceeding to that one, it's my duty to highlight one important thing. My understanding of our students, whether they are going to this one or not, you must go through this one. There are three important encyclopedias. You may come across the word encyclopedias. There are three important encyclopedias. The one important relevant encyclopedia is International Encyclopedia of Social Sciences and Behavioral Sciences. Law is a behavioral science. Therefore, you must review articles. So this International Encyclopedia of Social Sciences and Behavioral Sciences, it consists of 15 volumes, more than 8,000 pages, more than 2,800 articles are there. You have to go through that one. Whether it is available in the library or not, that's a different thing. It is available in the internet website, so you can refer it. So International Encyclopedia of International Encyclopedia of Social Sciences and Behavior. Similarly, there are two other encyclopedia. One is Encyclopedia Britannica, Encyclopedia Americana. So almost all the concepts which are prevailing in the scientific community as well as in the wisdom area, all these things are found. So you have to go through this one first, because my understanding, all the contributors of articles to that international encyclopedia, they are experts, very popular scholars articles are there. Therefore, first you go through this encyclopedia, then you can. Then another important point I'd like to emphasize is, without having a basic idea about a particular subject, if you go deep into the particular concept, it's very difficult. For instance, suppose if you're a student of environmental law, you must understand environmental science, environment. You must understand basic concepts of geography. So my understanding is, in the hectic schedule, in the 2 years period, whether it is possible to cope up with the syllabus subjects or to go beyond that one. If you want to be a sincere researcher, you must know all these things. So basic understanding about a particular topic, then you have to go through. If you are a student of criminal law, without reading at least 1 or 2 times of the criminal laws, like penal law, evidence act, and procedure law, without understanding, without reading, you should not go to any particular. So read the basic text, base bar act, read text, then you go for selecting articles in the book or other things. So these are important things you have to keep in mind. Please proceed to the next slide. All right. It is a further explanation to the point given. Review analyzes, synthesizes, and critically evaluates. I underscored the concept evaluates. Your subjectivity is there to give a clear picture of the state of knowledge. What is the present knowledge? You must understand on the subject. Without understanding the current knowledge about the subject, if you venture into any research, it will not be. You can get a degree, no problem. But will it be a worthy degree? Will it be a worthy contribution? Is a big question. So, review identifies methodological problems also, and it also points out research gaps. Even though review of literature aims to find out the research gap, there are other advantages. For instance, identifying methodology or identifying theories, identifying paradigms, identifying concepts, very important concepts. So review of literature justifies the topic selected by the researcher. My students, you please take it from me. At the end of review of literature, there must be a small paragraph. From the above literature, it is obvious that so far, even though a lot of research is carried out, no systematic research is taken to solve this research problem. Therefore, I have taken this research problem. It's a justification. It says there are so many concepts, but this is not taken. It's a justification. So many scholars focus, but no systematic attempt is made. It's a justification. So many scholars analyze qualitatively, but it's a quantitative analysis. So it's a justification. So many scholars analyze in a pure research. It's an applied research. That way you have to justify. So whatever topic you have taken, you have to justify it. Otherwise, research will not serve the purpose. Please proceed to the next one. This is another important one. Method of review of literature. How to review literature. So I think I have given too much stuff up to this one, but let me simply say, I understand now in the master's degree, whether if it's a doctrinal research, you are expected to submit thesis up to 100 page or 125 page. How much paper, how much pages, or what would be the quantum of pages that may be allotted for review of literature? It may be. It may be between 5 to 10%. Why I am saying 5 to 10%? If it is a pure research, if it's a doctrinal research, it may go up to 10%. If it is an applied research or it's a non-doctrinal research, it may come down up to 5%. So in a dissertation of 100 page, maximum 10 pages for review of literature you can do. When you are going for review of literature up to 5 to 10% of pages, how to proceed? This is the way. Already we have explained the concept reversed triangle model in deriving research questions. I have given a reversed triangle or reverse pyramidal model. Similar to that one, here reversed triangle model is there. It is a upside of base and downside particular thing, reversed triangle. So when you take a concept, you have to go broader concepts or a broader topic in the first stage. Suppose if you take four types of categories, very broad topic, very broad subject first. Then you have to say, then narrow down in a particular thing. In this topic, in this particular, these are the things that are involved. Then you go down. third stage. Then you go down. So finally, the reverse triangle, you are focusing. This is the area I am focusing in. So in a reverse one, broader, narrow, narrow, and ultimately the indicator points out this is the research question, and this research question is not answered by any person till this day. I have taken this research question, I am proceeding it. This way, if you analyze it, that would be good. So, for instance, if any research you can take the broader text, whether it is a research text or a general text, it comes under the broader one. Then when you go deep, it is a research-oriented one. And finally, if you go in a particular context, it may be research article-oriented. If you go, then it is a method. So reverse triangle way model helps you to analyze it. Then a literature review follows a format which has the following. Now you may be in a confusion. Sir, you are telling so many things, what to do? I will tell you a simple thing. Take a book. If you take a book, normally we don't read certain things. You have to read that one. Introduction. Understand the title. If you understand the title, at least 50% concepts will be clear. Title is that which is related to the basic approach, basic area. Then if you go to the introduction part, the researcher will say, the aim of this book is this. So take that aim. You can say, so and so attempts to or aims at answering this question. He probes this question. You answer that one. In order to answer that question, he takes these concepts. You go further. And after that, in order to answer these questions, he analyzes these concepts. He applies these methods, and his findings are these. Therefore, a review for a book may not go more than 3, at most 4 sentences. If you take 4 sentences, it will come to a paragraph. So in a paragraph, you can take one book review. So the title of the book, the aim of the author, analysis of the author, method applied by the author, findings of the author. If he can able to find any gap in that, then you have to say, here is a gap, I am trying to fill it up. That way it is to be, a review is to be carried out. So this is the method a book is to be reviewed. For your information, when I did my PhD in between 80 and 85, 1980, 85, I was given a book in the midnight 2 o'clock. My guide wants to have the review of that particular literature the next day morning by 10 o'clock. The book consisting of 400 pages. How can I read? It's very difficult, but he has taught the method. Try to understand the scholar's background. Try to understand the concept of the book. Try to understand, read the introduction. After reading the introduction, go for the conclusion. Reading. So a systematic book, what all the concepts or what are the issues raised in the introduction must have answers in the conclusion. So if you read the introduction and if you read the conclusion, if you have a basic understanding of a particular concept, a particular topic, broadly you may be in a position to understand. Therefore, that way a book is to be reviewed. That way an article is to be reviewed. I used to come across articles, journal, science articles, as well as other articles. Immediately I go to an introduction and I used to go for the conclusion. If anything new, I will read it. Otherwise, I will simply skip it. I may not find time to waste my time in this one. If it is relevant, I will read. Otherwise, I will skip it. So that way, you have to skim that research. Please proceed to the next one. So, what are the advantages of a review of literature? There are 4 important advantages of a review of literature. This word ROL, normally they use this rule of law. I cannot equate rule of law with this review of literature. For abbreviation, I'm using it. A review of literature aims to find the research gap. That's a very important objective and it's a very important use of review of literature. To find a research gap. Then second one is to widen one's understanding of the topic selected. So researcher must have a broad knowledge. That's why in our PhD in our university we have two important papers. One is field specialization. In the field specialization, all the relevant literatures, all the relevant materials are to be read by the scholar, by the researcher. So widening the knowledge, widening the topic, that's very important. So when you review the literature, your knowledge is widened. That's very, very important next to the research gap. Then third one is to find relevant theories, concepts, methods related to the topic. So my understanding is, except jurisprudence, probably we may not come across theories. In penology and criminology, there are theories. Except in jurisprudence and penology, criminology, we will not come across theories. But if you go through letters literature, law, legal literature, there are lots and lots of theories, lots and lots of methods. So these methods, let me tell you a secret, my dear students. If you take a theory, understand the theory, and if you apply a theory in your research, it's very easy, it's consistent, it's like a compass, it gives you a guideline. It is like an indicator, it's like a pole star, where you want to go, it can lead you. So with this, or I can say the latest jargon, it's like a Google map. If we put a particular place, it will take you there. Therefore, the theory will take you like a Google map to the destination without any hassle, without any difficulties. Therefore, the fourth advantage of review of literature is to use the same literatures that you reviewed as a secondary source to substantiate your findings. When you come across findings, these findings can be substantiated. So to substantiate your findings, these secondary sources, it can be used as a secondary source. Therefore, there are so many advantages. These are the basic advantages of review of literature. So so I have answered four important questions: what, why, how, where to find. Where to find, I don't know whether you follow it or not. When you take a textbook, at the end, bibliography is there. If you take a research article, at the end of the research article, references are there. If you finalize a topic, after finalizing a topic, if you have these research questions, then you can collect relevant area, this one. So bibliographic collection, it is a two-way process. To start a research, you can start with a bibliography. And when you end the research, you have to filter all those things, and you can give it at the end of your dissertation a selected bibliography. That way it can be used. Therefore, I've answered the four important questions. Now let me proceed to the next one. Please proceed to the next one. Oh, I understand in the YouTube or in any other methods, these things are not found. So my researcher, you have to be very carefully understand and use this word. Selection of literature for review depends upon the type of legal research. Already we point out there are four types of legal research. One is a pure legal research. Another is a doctrinal legal research. Third one is non-doctrinal. Fourth one is applied. I am giving it in a clockwise manner. So uh, 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 pure research, doctrinal, non-doctrinal, applied in the clockwise way I have given. So that type of research determines what type of review you have to do. Suppose you are interested in a particular thing. If it is a quantitative research, all other qualitative descriptions may be widening your knowledge, but you have to go for quantitative. For instance, in law, whether it is whether in pure research law or doctrinal research law, whether it is possible to have a quantitative research? Very well you can do it. What is not possible in the today technological world? There are so many things that you can do it. I'll let you know that in the days to come. So selection of literature of review depends upon the type of legal research. Similarly, nature of literature required also varies based on the aims of the researcher. What I mean by the word aims of the researcher, suppose if you are doing a research for a company and you are given a problem in the hand, it's an applied research. So your problem is the task given to is it's an applied research. This applied research will enable you, compel you to select a particular type of research literatures. That literature is totally different from that one, the other one. So it varies. So based on the aims of the researcher, it varies. Similarly, the third important classification is inductive and deductive approaches of the researcher, and the quantitative and qualitative nature of required data also decide the nature of the types of literature required to be reviewed. So these are very important one to determine what type of literature you require. Therefore, if it is not out of place, if you find it difficult to understand, inductive and deductive approaches, I'll explain briefly. In research, there are two things. One is hypothesis testing and theory building and theory testing. When you take a hypothesis from a theory, it is deductive one. When you take a hypothesis and you are trying to build up a theory, it's what's called inductive. So in other words, inductive refers to particular to general. Deductive refers to general to particular. This is the thing. So these type of approaches of the researcher, they will determine what type of literature a student is required, researcher is required. And similarly, quantitative and qualitative nature of required data also decide the nature and types of research required to be reviewed. This is another important concept you have to understand. So the days to come, we will explain it with illustration. And I feel I might have confused you, or I might have bombarded you with concept. If you understand my students, I can say they are excellent. Please proceed to the next slide. It appears to be a beaten track, but it is relevant in the present context. These are the four important types. Already we have given these four topics in the form of a picture in a diagram. So pure research, doctrinal research, non-doctrinal research, and applied research. Why I have taken this one in review of literature, I understand in master's degree, in the first year you have research methodology. In the second year, there is a doctrinal research and a non-doctrinal research. Let me tell you, all the pure research, you can say it's a doctrinal research. Let me tell you, all the non-doctrinal research may also be an applied research. Or you can put it this way, all the applied research are non-doctrinal research. All the non-doctrinal research need not be an applied research. What I mean by this one, applied research means a problem is given to you. You are expected to solve solution to that one. If it is like that, it's an applied one. Non-doctrinal research is concepts are there, the concepts are just defined, and you are going to the applied aspect of the concept. So that way it is explained. Pure research and non-applied research, the difference is pure research, whether it is useful or not, if you go, it is pure research. Applied research, there is a compulsion. I must find answers to this one. It's a perennial question today. It must be answered. See, you know the perennial question today, whether artificial intelligence will acquire consciousness. If artificial intelligence acquired consciousness, what will be the future of this world? Yuval Noah Harari, in his book Lexus, he points out the future, the 2050 or so, the world will be under the control of alien intelligence. He means alien intelligence, not a human being from other celestial bodies, other spheres, other heavenly bodies. He says artificial intelligence. That way, the present problem, current problem. So everybody is thinking whether consciousness be embodied in the artificial intelligence or not. That way, the research is going. So much research is going on this one. It's millions and millions of dollars are spent in the Silicon Valley about this applied research of applying or using consciousness to artificial intelligence. That's a science question. My dear students, you are thinking that this problem, in what way it is related to our problem. Let me tell you, whether artificial intelligence is a human being or not, whether it's a legal entity or not, is it a legal problem or not? When you say corporate entity is a legal entity, when corporate entity is a legal entity, artificial intelligence, can it be a legal entity or not? That if it is embedded with consciousness, will it be a legal entity or not? These are the questions. The world is shrinking. The world is in research also shrinking. There will not be any categorical difference between legal research and psychological research, legal research and artificial intelligence research. Everything is going to be. I think it's not out of place to talk. There are scientists in the world and scientist community, they are arguing there shall not be any border trade or a strict borders between chemistry, physics, biology, psychology, social science. What is physics is chemistry. What is chemistry is biology. What is biology is psychology. What is psychology is law. What is law is social science. What is social science is history. What is history is the anthropology. It goes on only for our convenience, only for our purpose, only for our specialization. We have broadly divided all into. Once again, the world is going to interdisciplinary. Interdisciplinary not only in our departments, it is between science and social sciences. So it's a big question. We need not bother about it, but the latest research goes this one. Already I pointed out the cognizance, concept of cognizance, cognizant. It is analyzed in Canada and USA in a neuroscience manner. Lie detector is there. Lie detector, whether it is relevant or not, we are going. So that way it is. So in this context, types of legal research and domains of research we have to understand. I have taken much pain in reducing. Please go to the next one. Please, next slide. I understand there are 13 disciplines in our university. The Tamil Nadu Dr. Ambedkar Law University is one of the largest law university, which is offering 13 branches. 13 branches. And in a broader perspective, I clubbed all the branches under 6 headings. My classification, my coupling, my linking may not be logical, but for a broader understanding based on the concepts, I classified in under 6 headings. The first heading is constitutional and human rights. What are the literatures for review? Researcher can refer apart from law and jurisprudence. If my students of constitutional and human rights, if you are interested in doing pure research, apart from jurisprudence, apart from the concepts found in these statutes, you can refer history, you can refer anthropology, you can refer literature. My dear students, you may question anthropology in what way it is connected. Let me tell you one thing. There is a person by name David Rake. He is very popular today in the world. He is a neuroscientist. He is not only a neuroscientist, he is very popular in genetics. But this fellow, he is analyzing fossils, paleontology and anthropology. Anthropology and paleontology, fossils. He is studying. So in that way, the pure research in law, it may help you or you can find materials in history. You can find materials in anthropology. You can find materials in literature. So from these one, you can find materials apart from, I am not taking the concerned topic under the purview. It is relevant, you can go for it. So if you are pursuing pure research, you can look into history, you can look into anthropology, you can look into literature. Similarly, under these two headings, constitutional and human rights, if you are interested in doctrinal research, jurisprudence very will help you. Interpretation of statutes. Professor Balaji, the Dean of Undergraduate Studies, he was familiar with the IOS, interpretation of statutes. I don't know how many of you know the General Classes Act. So the moment when you venture into interpretation of statute, General Classes Act is there. What is the meaning of that particular word? So in doctrinal research, General Classes Act must be there, and the etymological definition ought to be there. Jurisprudence must be there. Theories, utilitarian theory, even today it's very popular. Ideological theory is very popular. So philosophy is much more important. Therefore, doctrinal researchers, besides all the relevant literature in law, you have to go for review of literature, for jurisprudence, interpretation of statutes, and philosophy. All these things you can take it in the first stage of review of literature, broader area. Similarly, for non-doctrinal research, researchers may, apart from all these things, you can concentrate in acts and statutes. Every act, the title itself gives a meaning. And in the preamble, most of our students, we are not bothering about the preamble of the act. Researcher, we are very much concentrating on the preamble of the act. What is the preamble? What for it is introduced? And you might have come across in the interpretation of statutes, the aegism generis concept and the history of that legislation, or what way it is. Hayden's rule you must have come across. So the statutes, acts and statutes you must be. Similarly, case analysis. I'm not using the word case study. I'm using the word case analysis. That's very useful as far as the non-doctrinal research and judicial precedents. So stare decisis and judicial precedent and obiter dicta, whether it is a source of data, if your research is related to that particular obiter, you can take. But for source of data, this judicial precedent or stare decisis is very important. And similarly for applied research, let me tell you a secret. Most of our legal research, it is encroached by these fellows. Political scientists. Political scientists, they have analyzed most of the concepts of law. Without going deep into the doctrinal aspect, they applied it. Public administration, elaborately they studied. Sociology, elaborately they studied. Whether they use the Supreme Court judgments or High Court judgments, without knowing all these things, they applied legal concepts in their research. So my point is, if you are interested in constitutional law and human rights law, and if your research is in any one of the research, you have to go for review of literature in these areas. That will be good. That is very important. So similarly, the other one. Please go proceed to the next one. International law and maritime law, cyber law, space law. There are three branches I have brought under this one. Aristotle used to say, if you deep widely, if you are a voracious reader, if you read a lot of things, finally you will come to only one conclusion. I don't know all these things. I'm ignorant of all. My professor used to say, all in the name of research, what we are doing, it's only jugglery of words. It's old wine in a new bottle. Everything is there. I am giving a new color, new concept. That way he used to say. International law we are saying, maritime law we are saying, cyberspace we are saying, all these things. So we are using new nomenclatures, we are using new concepts. Things are there. You may wonder, so cyberspace law, whether it is there, but not in the name of cyberspace. So in the three branches, pure research, history helps you a lot. Literature helps you a lot. History of trade and commerce helps you a lot. See, in what way literature helps you? You might have come across, it's not out of place to say it. There is a popular literature in India, Kaudilya's Arthasastra. There is a theory of state. In the theory of state, he popularizes one particular concept. Your neighbor state is always your enemy. Your neighbor's neighbor is your friend. Even today it holds good. Pakistan is our neighbor. He is always our rival. And Afghanistan is not our neighbor. But one way or other we keep. Because the national interest between the neighboring states always in contradiction. Because land is one, and we are fighting for the land border, that dispute. Therefore, literature, it helps you. A lot of literatures are there, they are dealing with the international law. So that way that will be helpful. History of trade and commerce. So history of trade and commerce, let me tell you, a small analogy that will help you to explain that one. Maritime law. It is an observation of King Solomon. King Solomon is said to be a wise king. He is a ruler of the Mediterranean Sea, Eastern Mediterranean Sea. That time it was not Israel. That particular area, we can say Greek and that area. In the 9th century BCE, before the Common Era, 2,900 years ago, he lamented. It is reported. It is found in literature as well as in evidences. His country is going on exporting gold to India in order to get spices, in order to get aesthetic materials like sandal and other things. So it is a depletion of resources. He lamented. And you may come across the word IVC, Indus Valley Civilization. Indus Valley Civilization is very popular because of cotton. Cotton is Sindon cotton. It was. From the day till now, India is an exporter of textiles. It is the history. We have been exporting from Indus Valley Civilization. We exported a lot of things. Trade and commerce is there. Lothal in Gujarat is very popular. And similarly, as far as South India is concerned, Musaris, archaeological research is going on in Musaris, Pattanam. It is one of the very popular place. So, Musaris, Thundi, Korkai, and Arikamadam in Pondicherry, Pumbuhar in Tamil Nadu. These are very, very important trade centers. So, I will tell you a very important point. Till the medieval period, India's global GDP, it was more than 25%. So 25% of the global GDP, it was Indian GDP, Indian product. We were very popular in trade and commerce. We were maritime community. Today only we are running after somebody else. Why the Chinese president came to Mahabalipuram? Because Mahabalipuram, China had a very close ties in those period. Mahabalipuram and Arikamedu is so close for the trade that way. Therefore, if you are interested in doing pure research, then history of trade and commerce is very important to identify. I think it may not be out of place. You may come across a particular thing. See, Milahai. Milahai, this present Milahai, it's a chili. It's not an indigenous one. It's not an Indian product. It is produced from Brazil. Why they produce Brazil? Why it came? Because Milahu was our indigenous. India is known for this pepper, black pepper. We exported. There was a very big demand in Europe and other countries. To make a substitute for this pepper, Milahu, They introduced a kai vegetable. That kai is milagu kai milagai. Trade, history of trade and commerce, very important. Let me tell you another very important thing. The first international business trade agreement, it was between an Indian and an Egyptian. That document is available in Austria, Vienna, I think, in the library. So very popular. So India is not lacking. India was not lacking behind. Now, because of the British exploitation, we are exploited ruthlessly, and our sources are drained. Now we are coming up again. The future is for us. So history of trade and commerce you can understand only in this context. Then next one is already I pointed out Indian Ocean. The only ocean in the world after the name of a country is Indian Ocean. Cyberspace and other things, so you can understand this context. So doctrinal research in international law, all these things, jurisprudence, international organization, political thought. See, first political thought in international organization, maybe it comes from Greece, but subsequently Indian. So Arthasastra's Kaudilya is a popular treatise on international organization, international law related to that political thought. So that way it is related. Similarly, non-doctrinal research, if you are interested, you have to go for bilateral treaties, multilateral treaties, international conventions, UNO structure and functions, ICJ case analysis. These are very important concepts which one must go ought to go through for literature review in this context. Then applied research. In these three disciplines, international relations, very important. I am a student of political science. I have come across a very important thing. Power, balance of power, all these things, it is elaborately analyzed in international relations. I don't know how many of our students they used to understand the theories of international relations. Lots and lots of theories in international power theory. So wars and peace treaties, all these things. So power blocks and the balance of power. Balance of power is available in international relations. Everything. So maintenance of balance of power, status quo maintenance. I come across the First World War and Second World War are the outcome of tilting of the balance of power. Now also it is the tilting of the balance of power. Now power means it's the trading power in this context. So alliances are shifted in international law, international relations based on this power balance. It is to be understood in this context. If you review this one, it will be very useful. You'll have different theory, hypothesis, everything. Please pass on to the next one. Environmental law. So environmental law, it's another very important one, new subject. Whereas it's a new subject, but it is not a new subject. So similarly, geography. Let me tell you, I wondered why in Australia, in Melbourne, the sun is a pure sunlight. வெயில் கூட நல்ல வெயில் அடிக்கும். What is that நல்ல வெயில்? Right. Then I will come across it is because pollution-free sunlight. In India, if sunlight is there, the carbon content in the atmosphere, it penetrates and it falls on our skin. Skin disease comes. So geography, you must understand geography, equatorial region, tropical region. So climate change and pollution, industry and labor, these are areas of pure research where you can find literatures for review and understanding your knowledge for environmental law and labor law. Similarly, doctrinal research, engineering and technology, international environmental law, green benches and their judgments, all these are relevant for doctrinal research. Non-doctrinal research, pollution and health hazards, natural disaster, climatology. Yesterday, I have come across a very good literature by my friend who was also a PhD scholar of our university. He is an IAS officer. He is from North. I think he is from Himachal Pradesh. His name is, I think, I don't like to give. He is a researcher in our university. He has published a book by name. It is a hard word. The literature name is hardware and software. He points out, and he is from an environmental area. He concentrated this one. What I'm trying to point out, see, this environmental law, international law, it's a very, very useful in this context. So, non-doctrinal research, pollution and health hazards, natural disaster, climatology. The point I try to emphasize on the students, so environmental law, everything, it is an international law. My understanding, next to international law, the only law that can be commonly applicable throughout the world is environmental law. Because pollution finds no borders. Pollution is not confined within the borders. If you pollute your river in Chennai, if you pollute Kuvam, you are not only polluting Kuvam, you are polluting Bay of Bengal. The chemicals it pollutes not only Bay of Bengal, it will be drifted undercurrent. You know undercurrent in hydrology, in geography, marine geography. You may come across uh, the marine environment, marine pollution is dangerous. Once you pollute the river, it goes to not only to India, it goes to Singapore, it goes to Australia, it goes to Africa, everywhere. That way, it's a global. So you pollute atmosphere. If there is a wind, a fast wind, it pollutes the entire South India. It not only pollutes, it will pollute even Pakistan. The best way of affecting Pakistan is pollute. If you pollute your country, and the wind will drift away the pollution to Pakistan. No borders. The borders are artificial as far as the environment is concerned. Applied research, I'm not in with ill will, I'm speaking, I'm giving illustration. It is borderless, it is international. Applied research, environmental science, pollution control boards, Supreme Court judgments. Why I'm talking about my area for specialization is environmental law. I've focused mainly sustainable development on polluter pays principle. But I doubt seriously how many of my environmental law students know the very popular volcanic eruption of Indonesia. In Indonesia, some 74,000 years back, there was one volcanic eruption, Doba volcanic eruption. You know, because of the Doba volcanic eruption, after that eruption, the gas substance, everything covered the entire earth. Most of the probably these dinosaurs and other animals were completely extinguished because of this one. Because no plant, nothing. It was destroyed because of want of sunlight, everything. So this is, you must understand, volcanic eruption. We are talking about artificial pollution. Imagine if there is a volcanic eruption like Toba, what would happen? All these big powers, they cannot do anything. You cannot conquer over the nature. Nature is so powerful. Even today, it's very powerful. A small cyclone, we couldn't tolerate. An earthquake, we couldn't tolerate. A small landslide in Kerala, we suffered a lot. So science, environmental science, is very, very important. You have to keep in mind. So my point is, we have to live with the nature. Go with the nature. If we go against nature, it's very difficult. The people of this part of the country, we lived with the nature. We succeeded most of their life. And I don't like to venture into that. Beyond that, it's out of place. So environmental law is a good subject. It's a future subject. It's an international subject. Please proceed to the next one. Business law and the law of taxation. I clubbed into one. It's not, I don't know whether it's logically correct or not, but business law, incidentally involves taxation. It brings a lot of money. So customs excise and all these things. Therefore, I clubbed business law and taxation together. Pure research, ancient trade and commerce, imperialism and colonialism. My dear students, there is a beautiful book on Indian economic history, 2 volumes. He elaborately analyzed how the British colonialism, imperialism exploited India. India was a rich and resourceful country, but it was made as a nothing. It was made as an empty because of this exploitation. The British Empire, there is a popular saying, The most precious jewel of the British Empire is India. In the British Crown, we were the very popular colonial country. But for India, Britain would not be anything. It would be an ordinary European country. It is India that made Britain into a very popular country. The sun never sets in the British Empire because India made that trend. It is. And there is another very popular person, Dadabhai Nauroji. He has popularized a concept, the drain of wealth theory. He popularized imperialism and colonialism. So economics and commerce, you must understand. Business law students and law of taxation students, we must understand. Then doctrinal research, IMF, World Bank, and WTO, their structure, their function, and their history. I am of the opinion that all these things are, once again, it is under the hands of the big power blocks, imperial countries, the ruling dominant countries, powerful countries. They are using all these things under their as the devices to still continue their perpetuation. Evolution and trade and commerce, these are important. Tax systems in the past by various countries. So that is, I think it's not out of place to say, there's a Tirukural, very popular Tirukural. இயற்றலும் ஈட்டலும் காத்தலும் காத்த வகுத்தலும் வல்லது அரசு. இயற்றலும் ஈட்டலும் காத்தலும் காத்த வகுத்தலும் வல்லது அரசு. Just 7 words. Taxation. What would be? How it is to be? And similarly, there's a popular Tamil literature. I need not repeat it. So, if a country's resource is to be encouraged, go down, strengthen the human being, strengthen the basic things. Nelluyera, neeruyirum, neeruyera, varapuyera, I'm sorry. So, that way that concept goes. Then next one is non-doctrinal research, bilateral and multilateral treaties, contracts among countries, tax system, export and import policies. Similarly, applied research, business administration. My dear students, business law student must undergo a detailed understanding about business administration. Mere subject is not enough. The world is under the MBAs. CEOs and MBAs are ruling the world. Multinational companies, either it is under the CEO of MNCs or it is under the MBA. These guys, they are ruling that one. So business administration management, that's the difference between this one. I don't like to explain it. You may know that. Multinational company, chartered accountants. I come across when I go for business law subjects, chartered accountants and their journals elaborately studied about this commerce, this business, taxation, and business psychology, another very important area, psychology and business psychology. So you find a lot of materials for review, and you can find a gap there also. If you are interested in applied research and non-doctoral research, you can look into it. Next one, please. Next slide. Please, next slide. So property law and intellectual property rights. So property law is a traditional subject. Intellectual property rights is a latest one. But we are thinking it is the latest one. I'll tell you a small thing. Indus Valley civilization. What is very important? The terracotta ceatite seal. What is that seal? It's a trademark. So trademark, intellectual property, it is patent right, copyright, trademark, all these things. They are part and parcel, intellectual design. What about these seals of Indus Valley civilization? You know the Indus Valley civilization, the area of Indus Valley civilization is 26 lakh square kilometers. Imagine, more than 1,000 sites have been excavated, 1,000 residential areas. So Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, that about 5,000 years back, Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, it is like Manhattan. A very popular scholar by name, he was a former chief secretary of Odisha. His name is R. Balakrishnan. He has written a beautiful book. It is a journey of civilization from Indus to Vaihai. Beautiful book. He used to say, Mohenjo-daro and Harappa is like New York, 5,000 years back. It's a Manhattan Island. From Lothal, from Indus, we exported trade. When we exported trade, we send along with the trading commodities this seal. It's a trademark. Research is going on. They are trying to find out all these things. Throughout the Middle East, in Egypt, in Mesopotamia, in other areas, you can find the seal. So it is nothing new. The oldest literature we used to say, Veda is the oldest literature. What is it? It is a copyright. Did we do that one? The present Tamil literature, Tirukural. Mahatma Gandhi often referred this Tirukural. If I have a next birth, I would like to born in Tamil Nadu to read Tirukural. That way, it is literature. But the problem is, in the name of intellectual property, the Western countries, they monopolize their knowledge. Whereas the Eastern countries, Asian countries, all these countries, we cannot have a best literature idea than Buddhism, Four Noble Truth and Eightfold Path. Today, the world is following the middle path. Mindful meditation, they are saying, have we patented or have we had the copyright? All these things we have given generously through the world. So Indian contribution to the world in the field of knowledge, in the field of all other intellectual property, it was wide, it was generous. But once the Western countries introduce the concept of intellectual property, they are trying to make everything into their money. It's another way of exploitation. Okay, there are advantages and disadvantages. I don't like to intervene in that. But the point is, we are not lacking behind. So property law and intellectual property, theories of property. Theories of property is a very big thing. Labor theory. Karl Marx, the surplus value. Still it is finding its place. Property under feudalism. In a feudalism, when a land is transferred from one person to another person, the feudal lords used to transfer the farmers, agriculturists, or the peasants along with the land. That was the situation. Even women was considered as a property for a very long time in the world. So property and industrial revolution, these are very important now, literatures for pure research. So doctrinal research, property under capitalism, property rights under communism, property rights under socialism, varies. In Singapore, those who have visited Singapore might have come across, in Singapore, you can buy a house. In Singapore, you can buy an apartment, but that house or site are only for 99 years. After that, it will go to the government. Your right is not right in rem. Your right is only confined to a particular period, restricted. So property right is restricted there. It varies from country to country. So that way property is defined and property rights are defined. Non-doctrinal research, types of property under their rights, IPR, rights over AI and information. Artificial intelligence and information. Applied research, shares and debentures, intangible property rights, cryptocurrency, inflation, deflation, values of currencies. All these things are very, very interesting. I used to say one thing. In the year 1950, one Australian dollar is 1.5, somewhere around 1.5 rupees. Now today it is 55 rupees. One Australian dollar is equivalent to 55 rupees. What is it? It is inflation. So many things you can analyze. Don't confine yourself only to a small area. Extend your area. So the world is very big. My feeling is, researcher, you have to worry how to read, how to find materials. But the advantage is you need not go anywhere. You focus on the topic, go to the net, select. Let me tell you today attention attraction is very important as far as the business people concerned. So focus your attention on only on those areas which you want. Don't sell your time to others. This is the way the Indian people, Indian students are being wasting their time. Focus only on particular area. Therefore, if you do it, it will be very good. Please pass on to the next one. Next slide, please. So the final heading is, final classification is criminal law, crimes and forensic law, cyberspace law. So pure research, history, literature, nature of states and crimes. Pure research, history, literature. In what way this one? I have a small observation. I compare the procedural law in Silapadihar. Procedure law in Silapadihar. How can I compare? Imagine there's a popular song in the Valakkurai Kadai by Kannai in Silapadihar. தேரா மன்னா செப்புவது உடையேன் எல்லரு சிறப்பின் ஏமேவர் வியப்ப புல்லுரு புண்கன் தீர்த்தோ நன்றியும் வாயிற்கடைமணி நடுநான் நடுங்க ஆவின் கடைமணி யுகு நீர் நெஞ்சு சுட தான் பெற்ற புதல்வனை ஆழியின் மடித்தேன் பெரும்பெயர் புகாரின் பதியை அவ்வூர் ஏசா சிறப்பு இசை விலங்கு பெருங்குடி மாசாத்து வாணியின் மகனே ஆகி வாழ்தல் வேண்டி ஊழ்வினை தூள்கள் மன்னா நின்னகர் புகுந்து என்கார் சிலம்பு பகர்தல் வேண்டி நின்பார் கொலைக்கலப்பட்ட கோவலன் மனைவி கண்ணகி என்பது என் பெயர். See, what else you need beyond that? In an affidavit, what all you want to say? In a prosecution, what you want to say? I am so and so. I have come for this purpose. My content is this. And I am alleging the king. King, you committed a blunder. Then he established. So the entire procedure is explained in a couple of lines. It is very interesting. And you may know Madras High Court as a statue, Manunidi Chol. That evidence is there. Sibi Chakravarti story is there. It is what's called obiter dicta. Then now, what is a ratio? What is the content? What's the fact? என் காற்றிலம்பின் பரல்கள் மாணிக்கம் அரசனுடைய பரல், it is முத்து. That's all. She broke it. King found it's false. Yano arasan, yane kan. That's the thing. You can do it. But whether our people, our research guides will accept it, that's a very big question. I'm not for it. So history, literature, nature of states and crimes. There is a dissertation in our university. It is research related to politicization of crimes, criminalization of politics. Such a beautiful area. What is a crime? Crime varies from state to government to government. If one government makes a legislation and says this particular legislation is not valid, repeals it, a crime will become a non-crime. If a particular government if a parliament makes a law and makes a particular act as a crime, it's a law. Criminalization of politics and politicization of crimes, all these things. So you can do that way. It's an innovative research. Doctrinal research in psychology, in political philosophy. Already I point out there is a very popular neuroscience scholar by name Feldman, Lisa Feldman Barrett. She popularized with the facial, with the emotion. You cannot find the fact. You cannot. At the old law, I'm not updating my knowledge in criminal law. 299, 300. Culpable homicide and murder. What's it? There are narrow definition, narrow differences. All murders are culpable homicide, but all culpable homicides are not murder. It depends upon, at the time of the commission of the offense, whether the person who is committing the offense knows whether he has an intention that this act will result in the death of that person. Probability. That way it difference. Psychology. Now that scholars questions this intention, this emotion, all these things are absolute. You have to reconsider. In my understanding, in Canada and in USA, they are trying to redefine that concept, emotion. And I'll tell you one thing. We are very popular with emojis. If I'm happy, I used to give a particular emoji, like laughing. But the emoji, will it reflect your feeling? No. Even laughing, somebody cries, but it appears Ananda Kannir. That's it. Psychology. So political philosophy, theories of punishment you have to go through. And with reference to non-doctrinal research, criminal laws and criminal codes. All these things are source for non-doctrinal research. Special criminal laws, procedure laws, economic laws coupled with the punishment. All these things are very important area for review of literature in this one. In applied research, criminology, sociology, psychology, criminal case laws, these things you can use it. Therefore, these are the important areas, important domains where you can go for finding out a review of literature for your present topic. So this is, and the last slide, my understanding, please. Last slide is all these things that you reviewed, you collected data, you reviewed, you can use it for as a secondary source for analysis. The more you collect data, you can give more footnotes. More footnote means it is well substantiated. More substantiated means more reliable. More reliable means objectivity is there. More objectivity, more reliance means prediction will be there. Therefore, in this context, review of literature, even though it constitutes only a basic thing, it's a very important area of research. In India, my understanding, substantially good amount of scholars, if not at the PhD level, at least in the master's level, we ignore this review of literature, but it is an area we have to keep in mind. With this, I, I conclude. I thank all the listeners for your time spending and listening it. If time permits, I am willing to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you all for your attention and engagement today. I have heard some enlightening um, discussions about review of literature, what, why, and how. Before we conclude, I'd like to open the floor for any questions.
Good morning, sir.
Good
This is
morning.
Jayadurga from first year LLB, Human Rights Department. Sir, I have
Good.
a question relating to selection bias in literature review. Sir, how can we evaluate a literature review if there is an intentional omission or a selection bias made by the author in order to prove of hypothesis and avoid all other hypotheses which will contradict his conclusion? Can we term it as a inclusive literature review if there is a selection bias employed in his literature?
It's a very pertinent question. Research is, it must be a just one. If you want to cheat the examiner, you are cheating the entire research community. You are not going to contribute anything. If you deliberately ignore your relevant literature, please make it a point. Your research will be in the publication, and after a couple of years, somebody will review and say, "What is this nonsense? Already, all these literatures are there. Why do they do it?" So we can speak something, but once if it is put in writing, then you must be very careful. So if you deliberately omit any particular relevant literature, it is not good. It is not just. It is not advisable. So you have to. It is the duty of the examiner to find out. In Viva board, Viva was board is there. The duty of the Viva board is this one. They will bombard you. Why you did not select this one? You have selected this one, you did not select this one. What for you are doing it? So a good researcher, objective researcher, a researcher for research purpose will not be omit. So research must be genuine, justifiable, and it must be just. Okay. So subjective thing must not be there.
Thank you, sir, for your insight upon this.
Thank you.
A warm greetings. Myself, Idamati Maran from Environmental Law Department.
Good.
So, sir, while you're describing about the literature review and also the bibliography, as we are in the modern era, we have been stumbled upon online books and online journals, which we could read free without any subscription. So, can we quote those online journals in bibliography, or else categorizing as only the reference rather than bibliography?
In bibliography, you might have come across in our library, there are so many books published by Professor Ranbir Singh of Delhi Law School. He has popularized things are there, how to give reference as far as webinar books and articles in websites, other things. You can very well give it. The day is not far off. Even YouTube discussions, YouTube deliberations, YouTube consultations will be quoted in the days to come. It's not far off. What is important is idea. What is important, how it is justified. You can very well give. If you are merely bothering about, sir, I want to give only MLA style sheet. MLA style sheet you may have come across. MLA refers to it's a modern language association method of citing a particular citation. And APA, so American Psychology Association publication. I followed for a long time only Thorabian manual. You can follow. When the time changes, you can follow anything. My feeling is idea, well substantiated idea is good. Whether it is available in article, whether this article is in the website or in or in the email or whatever be, that's good. But well substantiated, that's a point. They have taken a concept, explained the concept, finding that. That's good. What's wrong in it?
Okay, sir. Sir, and also the format should be in order which has been prescribed, right? So,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
for
yeah.
example, if you're taking footnote, it is blue book model. So we
Yeah,
have to follow that.
yeah, you
But
have to
the
follow.
idea
Method, you have to follow the method. My dear student, my dear friend, you must have, you can even in the methodology, you can say, I follow this method of quoting. I follow this method of substantiating. There are students, if they edit one line in a book, they used to give a complete dot for one line. There is a method giving 3 dots. There is a method giving 4 dots. So 3 dots refers to I have edited as a particular word or set of words. 4 dots means I have edited more than a sentence. You are at liberty to edit even the quoting. And similarly, there are works you may come across one-page quotation. One-page quotation, can you give? You can give, but it must be in a block quotation. There is a concept called block quotation. In research methodology, it's given. It is, suppose if you are giving 1.5, it must be reduced into, and it must be intended. 4 spaces, it is intended. A researcher must know all these things. What's the significance of 3 dots in the literature, 4 dots in the literature? What's the difference between block quotation and ordinary quotation? How it is to be quoted? That is a method. You are given at liberty, but clearly state, I follow this one. If you find the fault with that particular technique, method. That's all.
Sure,
Okay,
sir. Thank you
good,
so
good.
much, sir.
Okay.
So, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I am Aaron from Constitutional Department.
Very nice.
How a researcher can find research gap? First of all, what is research gap? according to me, before reading the book or article, how can we find that there is a gap in the research in that particular article? How we are coming to a conclusion that there is a research gap? Can you explain, sir?
Yeah. See, it's a pertinent question, but the thing is, when you read widely, you may find that these are the topic you have selected is already probed, whether it's a beaten area or a new area. So suppose if it is a beaten area, you tell me a topic, I'll tell you a research question.
Disparity in implementing equality.
Okay. So your broader area is equality. Okay.
Yes.
Then you narrow down disparity in implementing equality. So it has come under the administration, implementing equality. Implementing equality, are you going to analyze only from administrative point of view or judicial process point of view? If you say I am bothering about implementing it, I am going to bother about only Supreme Court judgments. Supreme Court judgment equality and implementing equalities. Recently, there's a very beautiful case related to physically disabled persons, visually challenged persons, and reservation. Supreme Court has taken this one. How it says reservation is only for this purpose, but this is not extended to that. You can take that one, and then you can proceed whether visually challenged persons are given reservation in IAS examination or not. The gap is there. Discrepancy. You have to wide reading. When you go wide reading, you can keep it mind about your concept, keep it mind about your intention, keep it mind about your interest. When you read, you will come across. Keep a notebook or a mobile and note down what are your important interests. And finally, if you have 2 dozen or 3 dozen, you can reduce into 2 questions. In dissertation, if you answer 2 questions, that will do. Okay.
Yes,
I think
sir.
I answered your question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Good.
Last question. Online participants, any questions?
Online participants can ask questions.
Rebecca, any questions, ma?
For your questions and contributions who contributed to this, Ms. Jayadurga from Human Rights Department, who will deliver the vote of thanks. Please join me in welcoming Jayadurga for the vote of thanks.
Respected dignitaries and friends, it is my privilege and honor to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks on behalf of the organization committee for today's event. First and foremost, I would like to express our deep gratitude for Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir Colonel Professor Dr. N. Santosh Kumar, for his constant contribution and motivation to conduct this kind of events for our students' welfare. And now I express my gratitude for our Dean, Sir Professor Dr. Balaji sir, and also our PG Director, ma'am, Kumudra Ratna ma'am. And also I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude for the invaluable lecture and research methodology on behalf of all of us. And I express my heartfelt appreciation for the remarkable and detailed session, your eloquent explanation of the complexities of research methodology, covering everything from the importance of choosing the right research design and understanding the sampling techniques, and everything you have clearly explained in depth and approaches and undoubtedly broaden our understanding of the critical aspects of conducting rigorous research. We truly appreciate the time you took to explain your concepts and patience in addressing our questions and your thoughtful advices on navigating the challenges of research work. Once again, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. We are deeply grateful and also excited for our next series on this part. Thank you, everyone.